Hi, this is Savannah Saunders from The Wonderful World of Dance, and today we're going to be taking a look at the famous Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the largest arts festival in the world, and the dance that's being showcased there. I'm excited to introduce Christina Elliot, the senior producer from The Place, which is London's leading contemporary dance training, creation and performance house, and home to the London Contemporary Dance School. This year, The Place is taking 4 shows to the Fringe. So let's hear from Christina all about the dance that's being showcased at the festival. Hi, Christina. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
So before we talk about the festival, let's talk about The Place.
So The Place is a centre for contemporary dance near Euston, and it's a place where people come to watch dance, to take part in dance classes, to train to be professional dancers. And so in any one day around the place, there will be people enjoying taking part or watching dance in lots and lots of ways.
Well, I have to say, I've taken the odd ballet class there actually for quite a while. I took a ballet class. I'm a really big fan. I think the building is really, really beautiful. I've seen shows in the theatre, which is a wonderful theatre. So I'm really excited to be talking with you today. I'm really interested to talk to you about your role as senior producer. What does the role of a producer entail?
Well, my role at the place is to develop new projects, put the partnerships in place with other organisations and artists to make projects happen, and then work with a team of 6 producers, project managers, assistant producers to deliver those projects. And it's a really lovely role because I'm there right at the start of projects, dreaming up what they can be.
So what does your sort of typical day like? Do you have a typical day?
Well, it's always different. It always involves lots of meetings, but that's a really great part of the job, meeting with artists to talk about perhaps a show they might put on in the theatre, or a project that we might commission, or a project that we might produce with them. I also meet with funders, other venues, partner organisations in the dance sector and beyond. And as is normal for a big organisation, lots of internal meetings as well. And I also, as a programmer for the theatre, I spend time going to sharings, work in progress, showings, performances by artists we might want to programme. And also I work on early stage producing of artist projects that we're working on. So funding applications, commissioning partnerships, tour booking, putting the creative team in place for projects.
That sounds like a very, very busy day. I wanted to ask you as well, what inspired you to become a producer? Is this something that you knew you wanted to do, or how did you come to become a producer?
I've always loved going to the theatre, going to see dance, but I'm not a dancer, I'm not an actor, and while I was at university I realised that it was the behind the scenes, the organising that I was best suited to. I started my career at a producing organisation called Fuel, which is a theatre producing organisation, and it's a wonderful company where I learned to start from scratch every time. So every project we did, there was never any precedent. So whether it was producing a show that took place in complete darkness, or tiny performances in garden sheds, or a show which took place in a hotel made of shipping containers, we had to start right from first principles every time. And I think that's a useful way of thinking as a producer, to really to build from what you've got from the start, not assuming that it's going to be like anything you've done before.
So you've been with the place now about 3 years. What are some of the other projects that you have been working on, or I think you've introduced a couple of projects which are almost flagship projects now. Tell us about some of those.
Well, I mean, one thing that I've really enjoyed working at the place is building partnerships beyond the dance sector, and really working with artists to build audiences beyond London and beyond sort of traditional dance audience. So a good example of that is the Rural Touring Dance Initiative, a partnership with the NRTF, National Rural Touring Forum, China Plate and Take Art, where we identified that there isn't a huge amount of dance touring rurally, and we wanted to address the quantity and quality of dance. So we have been working for the last few years on that, and it's a project which is ongoing and hugely rewarding, because taking dance into village halls, and that connection that you have with an audience when they're just a few feet away from the dancers is really special. And another of those projects is the one that we're going to talk about a bit more, our program at the Edinburgh Fringe, where we're really excited to take dance up to that curious cross art form audience who don't really care that it's called dance. They're just interested in great performance.
Before we talk more about the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, you were just talking then about taking dance out of, well, London where you're based, but out into, you know, broader community. Tell us about sort of how that fits in with the vision for the place, which is quite a prominent, you know, building in London.
Yeah, I mean, the place has always been very outward focused, and we have a resident touring dance company, the Richard Alston Dance Company, which has always toured nationally and internationally. But I think in terms of our artist development support, it's a recognition that increasingly artists really want to reach out beyond their peers, reach beyond their local audience, and that as producers, one of the main ways in which we can support them is to help them to do that. And I think it can enrich a performance, a dance performance, if you're bouncing it off different audiences. The responses you get will be different. People will laugh at different moments. I think that shows that tour, I think the artists tell me that they learn a lot about their own practice, as well as that piece becoming more robust and stronger. So we work really hard to build substantial tours for artists, so that they can reach beyond the audience that they might achieve on their own.
So it's quite interesting when you mentioned that actually it's also the artists that really want to take their shows and their performances out into the community, and to see that different response. I guess, you know, some people might think, well, actually they would have just preferred to stay on the sort of, you know, the bigger, wonderful stages of London. But it's great to hear that actually they want to go out and take their performance to the people. Yeah,
and I think again, the rural touring is a really good example of that. Ben Duke from Lost Dog, who's been touring Paradise Lost around village halls for the last year, is a total convert. And to hear artists talking about touring as a joy rather than a chore is really lovely. I think another aspect of touring that we're interested in is taking dance to outdoor spaces, because there's clearly real demand. More and more outdoor festivals are popping up, and demand for the sort of the quality and innovation in dance in those outdoor spaces as in the theatres as well.
Absolutely. So, well, let's talk about the big Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which has kicked off and is celebrating their 70th anniversary. Now, this festival is normally known more for its comedy and theatre. Tell us about Dance at the Fringe and why you think Dance at the Fringe is so important and innovative right now.
Well, there's always been really great dance at the Fringe, and venues like Dance Base and Zoo venues have always had really strong dance programs. There's always been dance in the International Festival. But I think the really exciting thing for dance at the Fringe now is that dance doesn't always look like what you might expect dance to be. So lots of brilliant dance artists are taking influences from circus, from theatre, live art, visual art, to create kind of genre-busting work where the categorization doesn't really matter. And the Fringe is a really great outlet for that. Because I think you've got audiences up there who are willing to take a punt. They're willing to experiment on something that they wouldn't necessarily were they back in London or their hometown.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there about some of the innovations. I think it's quite interesting how new media and technologies is influencing dance and the presentation of dance. Can you talk a bit about how you think that new technologies and digital technologies are affecting dance?
Yeah, I think I think for sure it's influencing how we find out about dance, and how we tell our friends about it, and how we share our experiences of it via social media. And I think there are some great examples of new technology being used in performances as well. I mean, in a way, you know, the Fringe is what's wonderful about the Fringe is also what can be hard about it, which is that it doesn't necessarily suit technically difficult or demanding work. And so for me, what's great about the Fringe is the real live connection with an audience and kind of coming back to that. So some of the work that I've enjoyed most at the Fringe is where you're just a few meters away from the performer, and it's very different to seeing something on the main stage at Sadler's Wells or even at the Place.
Absolutely. There is often that sort of physical gulf between the artist and the performance, and being able to be that close and feeling almost a part of the performance, or being drawn more physically or emotionally or intellectually into the performance would be obviously wonderful, particularly for new audiences who don't normally go to dance, or as you say, are going to see some dance which perhaps they're thinking, oh, this isn't the type of dance that I was expecting to see when I go see dance. Yeah. So tell us about the 4 shows that the Place is taking up to the Fringe Festival.
Yeah, well, they're all completely different, which is lovely. We have Luca Silvestrini's Protein with Gorgeou Tales, and this is a show that Luca made a couple of years ago, and it's looking at stereotypical thinking in the UK, and looking particularly at the experiences of the performers who come from various different backgrounds, and who reflect on experiences of migration and prejudice, I suppose. And it feels really resonant to bring it back now, post the Brexit vote. And that's really what we're seeing up in Edinburgh, is that audiences are really responding to that. We have James Cousins' Company with Rosalind, which is a show that James made in South Korea as part of the British Council's Shakespeare Lives commissions, and it follows Shakespeare's heroine from As You Like It, Rosalind, as she navigates the ordered hierarchical society versus the much freer kind of neon wonderland of soul. And it's a kind of quietly political and very feminist piece, and beautifully danced. We have Rosemary Lee's installation Liquid Gold is the Air, which is a triptych of films that she made based on an outdoor participation piece in Milton Keynes a few years ago. And it's in Greyfriars Kirk, which is a very beautiful church in the centre of Edinburgh. And it's just in a little chapel in the corner, and it's really the place to go if you want to escape the bustle of the Fringe. And then opening in the last week as part of the British Council Showcase, we've got Fagan's Twist. by Tony Adigan and avant-garde dance. And it's a hip-hop contemporary dance retelling of Dickens' Oliver Twist from the perspective of Fagin, the villain. And it's an energetic, dynamic 90 minutes of dance, and a great one to bring the family to, people who haven't, who perhaps don't go to dance very often.
That sounds like a fantastic program, even just those four, which I guess reflects the whole dance spectrum up at the Fringe. You've got topical, you've got international, you've got some great hip hop, quite family friendly, a film in a chapel. I mean, it just sounds magnificent. I wanted to ask you also about the award that the place is sponsoring, the Total Theatre Award for Dance. What do you think the panels will be looking for?
Well, I think they'll be looking for dance which is formally innovative. I mean, that's really at the heart of the Total Theatre Award, is work by independent artists, which isn't easily categorised. So 2 years ago, it was a company of ice dancers who won it, performing on Murrayfield Ice Rink, which was just a perfect example of what we were looking for. I think it will be won by a company who have made something which really surprises us as a panel. And the Total Theatre Awards are a kind of wonderful institution, and it's as much about the conversation that goes into the awards as the awards themselves, because it's a really rigorous peer-led process, which we're really excited to bring dance into the mix of, and really talk about what dance is now, and perhaps confound some expectations that there might be even within the industry, not just amongst audiences.
So I understand that there's over 600 companies or productions that are being considered for the award.
Yeah.
How possibly, I can't imagine how they would even come to a consensus, particularly as you say they're looking at innovation and perhaps challenging some of the stereotypical perceptions of dance. It would be an enormous challenge.
Yeah, well, 600 shows, that's not just dance shows. That's
okay.
That's the theatre shows as well. Well, right now there's a team of assessors who go and see everything on that list once, twice, 3 times, and then I think it's an 8-hour meeting where those assessors just debate and talk about what's the best that's out there, and then they come up with a shortlist. And then the judging panel goes to see that shortlist, and then there's another long meeting where we talk about the shows. So it's known for being a very rigorous and a very open and democratic process.
Well, we'll definitely be looking out for the award winner for the dance category. Before we finish up, I wanted to ask you if there are any up and coming events at the place that you'd like to highlight.
Well, in September, you can come along to Dead Club, which is the latest collaboration from David Rosenberg and Frerker Records. They're known for making outdoor spectaculars, so the Electric Hotel, Motor Show, The Roof. And this is the first time that they've made a show indoors, and you can expect it to be immersive, thrilling, surprising, quite unlike anything that you might expect to see at the place. And that's on for the whole month. So we're really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Christina. And if you're heading to Edinburgh, check out our Fringe Dance Hot List on our website for your definitive guide to the 143 shows that are on. You can also learn more about the place on their socials and website, theplace.org.uk. And if you do head up to the festival, let us know what you've loved or not loved. Tag us on your socials and we'll highlight your hot tips. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, etc. Have fun.